I stopped by my son's office to say hello. In the parking lot, I spotted my daughter-in-law's car in the executive spot while she was supposed to be vacationing in the Caribbean. Passing by the conference room, I overheard a conversation, "The old fool won't know a thing until it's too late." That's when it hit me. This wasn't family worry. This was organized fraud. If you've ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted, comment below and tell me where you're watching from. You need to hear what I found out next. My dentist appointment had been canceled, and I found myself with an unexpected hour in downtown Cedar Rapids. I thought, why not stop by Prairie Valley Enterprises and say hello to Derek? It was just a casual visit, nothing unusual. But the moment I pulled into the parking lot on Collins Road, my heart stumbled. There in the executive spot beside my son's truck sat a silver Mercedes with the vanity plate Cass B. My daughter-in-law's car. I gripped the steering wheel and stared. Cassandra had left for Turks and Caicos 5 days ago. She'd been posting photos all morning. Turquoise water, white sand cocktails with tiny umbrellas. My granddaughter Olivia had even shown me during our video call just hours earlier. So why was her car here? 66 years of living had taught me that unexplained things usually carried uncomfortable explanations. I should have driven away. Catherine would have told me to trust Derek, to not jump to conclusions. But Catherine wasn't here anymore, and something in my gut told me I needed to know. I walked toward the building's side entrance. My keycard still worked. Derek had insisted I keep it after I stepped back from daily operations. The hallway stretched before me, carpeted in industrial gray silent, except for the hum of the overhead lights. That's when I saw them through the glass wall of the conference room. Derek stood with his back to the door, shoulders tense. Cassandra leaned against the conference table in a burgundy suit, very much not on a Caribbean beach. And beside her stood Bernard Phillips, our family attorney, for 20 years. I stopped just outside the door. My hand hovered over the handle. Something told me not to announce myself. Not yet. And that's when I heard it. The consolidation needs to happen by December 15th. Cassandra said, her voice sharp and businesslike. We'll move everything into the LLC before he realizes what's happening. Derek's voice was quieter, hesitant. What if he asks questions? He won't. Cassandra's laugh was cold. Bernard's already planted the seeds. The checkbook airs the forgetfulness, the concerns about his age. When we file for conservatorship, the judge will see a man who can't manage his own affairs anymore. My blood turned to ice. Bernard spoke next, his tone professional and detached. The Robbins property closes next month. 300 acres. Once we have guardianship, we can finalize the sale without his signature. And Lauren? Derek asked. She'll fall in line, Cassandra replied. I'll talk to her about Dad's declining mental state. She'll think we're helping him. I stepped back from the door. My legs felt weak. My breath came in short, shallow gasps. This wasn't a family meeting. This wasn't concern for my well-being. This was a plan to steal everything I'd built, and my own son was part of it. I turned and walked back down that hallway as quietly as I'd come. My hands shook as I pushed through the side door into the cold November air. The parking lot spun around me. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes, staring at nothing. The engine was off. The world outside felt distant and unreal. The game, I realized, had already been in play. I'd just been too trusting to see the board. 10 minutes passed before I could think clearly. My hands had stopped shaking, but the cold remained a chill that had nothing to do with November weather. I started the engine and drove not home, but in circles around downtown Cedar Rapids, trying to process what I'd heard. By the time I pulled into my driveway in Marion, the afternoon light had faded to gray. Inside the house that Catherine and I had shared for 43 years, I stood in my office and made 2 calls. The first was to Lynn County Records. A cheerful voice answered, I need copies of all property filings for Prairie Valley Enterprises over the past year. I said, Yes, I can come by tomorrow morning. 9 o'clock works fine. The second call went to a number I'd kept in my wallet for 3 years but never used. Sam Donovan. A colleague had recommended him once during a conversation about due diligence that I'd never thought I'd need for my own family. Donovan Investigations. The voice was professional alert despite the late hour. Mr. Donovan, my name is Gerald Anderson. I may need your services. What kind of case, Mr. Anderson? I looked at the family photos on my desk. Derek's college graduation, Lauren's wedding, Catherine smiling in the garden. I need to know what's being done with my company, and I need to know who I can trust. We met Friday morning at the records office. The clerk seemed surprised when I requested physical copies rather than digital files. Most people just want the PDF, she said. I prefer paper. I smiled the way older men are expected to smile, playing the role they'd assigned me. The manila folder she brought 20 minutes later was thick. I spread the documents across the passenger seat of my truck and began reading. By page 4, my hands were shaking again. A quitclaim deed transferring the Robbins property from Prairie Valley Enterprises into something called Prairie Valley Family Trust, LLC. The date was August 23rd. My signature appeared at the bottom, but I'd signed no such document. By page 15, I'd found 7 properties transferred out of the main company, based on our last assessment, somewhere around $85 million. I met Sam at a small cafe on 3rd Street. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe 48, with the kind of quiet intensity that made you want to tell him everything. I did. He studied the documents for 10 minutes without speaking, occasionally making notes in a leather notebook. These signatures, he finally said. You're certain they're not yours? I never signed those documents. I never authorized those transfers. They look like your signature, though. They do. Sam pulled out his phone and showed me an image. Does your company order office supplies through an account system? Derek handles that. He zoomed in. A purchase order from 3 months ago, including a self-inking signature stamp, delivered to the downtown office. The coffee in my cup had gone cold. They can just stamp my signature on anything. It's more common than you'd think, especially in family businesses where trust is assumed. Sam leaned back. Here's what I think happened. They buried the real transfers in stacks of legitimate paperwork. You signed 20 pages during Sunday dinner. 18 are routine. 2 are property transfers. Most people don't read every line, especially not from family. I trusted him. The words came out hollow. I know. Sam's voice was kind but firm. Mr. Anderson, I need to be straight with you. This isn't just family betrayal. This is organized fraud. They've been systematic, careful, probably planning this for months. And based on what I'm seeing, they're not done yet. The cafe suddenly felt too small, too warm. Outside Cedar Rapids went about its Friday afternoon, people shopping, laughing, trusting that the ground beneath their feet was solid. I'd thought mine was too. What do I do? I asked. Sam closed the folder. We fight back. But first we need to know exactly what we're fighting. The envelope arrived that evening, hand-delivered by courier, just as I was making dinner. Thick cream paper, Bernard Phillips's law firm, embossed in the corner. I'd known Bernard for 20 years. He'd handled Catherine's estate, helped us set up the original trust, attended her funeral. Inside were 3 documents. The cover letter was brief, professional. Dear Gerald, pursuant to our phone conversation last week. Enclosed, please find the updated estate planning documents we discussed. Please review and sign where indicated. I'd had no phone conversation with Bernard last week. The documents were a revision to my living trust and a durable power of attorney, granting Derek immediate authority over all financial and legal matters. Both required my signature. I was still staring at them when my phone rang. Derek. Hey, Dad. Did you get Bernard's envelope? My throat was dry. Just opened it. Great. I know legal stuff is boring, but Bernard says it's important to have everything updated. I can swing by tomorrow and help you go through it, if you want. That's thoughtful, honey, but I can manage. A pause. You sure some of the language is pretty technical? I'm sure. Another pause, longer this time. Dad, are you okay? You sound strange. Just tired. I didn't sleep well. After he hung up, I called Bernard's office and left a message. I had questions before signing anything. I wanted a meeting Monday morning. Should I let Derek know I was coming? No. I said quickly. I'll handle it directly with Bernard. Saturday afternoon, Cassandra appeared at my door. She looked perfect as always, cashmere sweater, designer jeans, that smile that had once seemed warm, but now felt calculated. Gerald, I came back early. Missed the grandkids too much. She swept into the living room. Is this a bad time? Not at all. Come in. I wanted to talk about Sunday dinner. Liam told me about the family meeting. She settled onto Catherine's favorite chair without asking. I think it's wonderful that you're all getting together to discuss your plans. My plans? For your retirement. For making sure everything's organized. She tilted her head. It must be exhausting trying to keep track of everything. I manage. Of course you do. Her eyes scanned the room. But Wilma and Liam worry. We all worry. You've been so strong since Catherine passed. But it's okay to need help, Gerald. It's okay to let the younger generation take over some of the burden. I don't feel burdened. She stood, walked to my desk where I'd left the documents from Bernard. These are just common sense. Every man your age should have updated powers of attorney. Richard says... She caught herself. Bernard says it's responsible planning. I watched her fingers trace the edge of the papers. She hadn't asked permission to look at them. Coffee? I offered. That would be lovely. In the kitchen, I took my time. When I returned, she was standing by the window, the documents now repositioned on my desk. Subtle but different. She'd been reading them. I should go, she said, accepting the cup but not drinking. But Gerald, we're family. We love you. Everything we're doing is to protect you. After she left, I locked the door and walked through every room. My bedroom had that drawer been closed before the office. Were those files in that order? The den was that photo frame, always at that angle. Nothing was missing. Nothing was obviously disturbed. But everything felt violated. Sunday dinner. Catherine had started the tradition 40 years ago, pot roast mashed potatoes, her mother's dinner rolls. After she died, I'd kept it going. Now, as I set the table with her good china, the ritual felt like a trap. Derek arrived first, alone. Cassandra's with the grandkids, he explained, not meeting my eyes. Lauren came with her husband, Stephen Crawford. Since their wedding 5 years ago, she'd carried his name, but tonight she still felt like my little girl. She hugged me, held on perhaps a second longer than usual. You look tired, Dad. Over dinner, they made small talk. Lauren complimented the roast. Derek mentioned the weather. Everything was aggressively pleasant. Finally, over coffee, Derek cleared his throat. Dad, we need to discuss something. Lauren took my hand. We love you. Everything we're about to say comes from a place of love. We're worried about you, Derek continued. Living alone in this big house. Managing the business. It's a lot for anyone, especially after losing Mom. I'm not confused, I said. Dad, you wrote a check for the wrong amount last month. You couldn't remember where you'd put your car keys. When I brought you those papers to sign, you signed them without reading them. The trap was beautiful in its construction. Every normal moment had been catalogued and weaponized. I do trust you, I said carefully. You're my son. Derek pulled out a folder, the same documents from Bernard. We've consulted with Bernard. Updates to your trust power of attorney arrangements. Simple steps to ensure everything's properly managed. I have questions about those documents. A look passed between my children. What kind of questions? Derek asked. The power of attorney seems very broad. It would give you control over everything. My assets, my medical decisions, where I live. That's standard, Lauren said quickly. Stephen and I have the same arrangement with his parents. It just means if something happens, we can act on your behalf. If something happens or when you decide something should happen, silence fell over the table. Dad? Derek's voice had an edge now. That's exactly the kind of paranoid thinking that concerns us. Is it paranoid to want to understand legal documents before signing them? It's paranoid to think your own children are conspiring against you. His frustration was breaking through. What do you think we're doing? Trying to steal from you. Throughout this exchange, Lauren had been silent. Something in her eyes I couldn't read. "I'd like to speak with Bernard before signing anything," I said calmly. "Of course," Lauren said, shooting Derek a warning look. "Of course you should talk to Bernard." Derek stood abruptly. "We're trying to help you, Dad. I hope you realize that before it's too late." After they left, I stood at the sink washing dishes, Catherine's china slippery in my soapy hands. My phone rang. "Sam, Mr. Anderson, I need to tell you something. They filed a petition for emergency conservatorship this afternoon." The plate I was holding slipped, crashed against the sink. Didn't break. "The hearing is Tuesday, December 3rd at 9 in the morning," Sam continued. I looked at the calendar on the wall, Catherine's handwriting still marking her garden club meetings. Tuesday, December 3rd. The red circles seemed to pulse. 3 weeks from tomorrow. 3 weeks. 21 days to prove I wasn't losing my mind. Monday morning I made my first move. Dr. Susan Caldwell's office was across town, deliberately chosen. Sam had been right. If I used my regular physician, Derek might try to influence the evaluation. Dr. Caldwell had no connection to my family, no reason to do anyone favors. She was younger than I'd expected, sharp-eyed and direct. "Mr. Anderson, I'm not here to give you a passing grade. I'm going to conduct a thorough evaluation. If I find cognitive impairment, I'll document it honestly." "I understand." For 3 hours she put me through memory tests, pattern recognition problem-solving exercises. She asked me to recall lists of words, draw clock faces, explain proverbs, count backward from 100 by sevens. "Mr. Anderson, I can tell you right now that you're cognitively intact. Your memory is excellent. Your executive function is normal. You show no signs of dementia or significant impairment." Relief flooded through me. "Thank you." However, she continued, "You should know that cognitive evaluation can be subjective. If your children have found a physician willing to testify that you're impaired, the judge will have conflicting expert opinions." Tuesday, I met Stanley Reed at his office downtown. He was methodical, the kind of accountant who found patterns in chaos. "Mr. Anderson, your family has been systematically looting your company for at least 10 months. He spread out spreadsheets color-coded and annotated. Total asset transfers to the LLC, $85 million. The original company now holds maybe $5 million in aging equipment, against debt of $3 million. The numbers made it real in a way the documents hadn't. "Can we prove I didn't authorize the transfers?" "That's complicated. You did sign some documents. We have your signature on various forms throughout the year. The question is whether you understood what you were signing or whether they buried the transfers in routine paperwork." He paused. "The legal system tends to assume that adults read what they sign." Wednesday I met Karen Mitchell, elder law attorney Sam had said. She'd seen cases like mine before. "Mr. Anderson, they filed for emergency conservatorship, which means they're claiming you're in immediate danger. Tomorrow's hearing will be adversarial. They'll present evidence of decline. We'll present evidence of competence and fraud." She looked at me steadily. "This will get ugly. You'll be fighting your own children in open court." "I know." Thursday, Sam and I moved my important documents to a safe deposit box at First Republic Bank, across town from my usual bank. "They might have access to your regular accounts," Sam explained. "This is your insurance policy." The second week moved faster. Sam dug deeper into the Robbins property sale. $54 million, Mr. Anderson. Sold to Portland Development Group 3 months ago. The money went directly to the LLC, not to Prairie Valley Enterprises. Friday of the second week, Lauren called. "Dad, can we meet? Just you and me. No Derek, no lawyers." We met at a coffee shop near her office. She looked nervous, determined. Something in her eyes reminded me of Catherine. "Dad," she said, stirring her untouched latte, "I need you to promise me something." "What is it?" She looked up, and for a moment I saw my wife's strength there. "No matter what you see or hear in the coming days, remember that Mom loved you more than anything in this world." "Lauren, what?" "That's all I can say right now." She stood abruptly, leaned down, and kissed my forehead like she used to when she was small. "I love you, Dad, more than you know." Before I could ask what she meant, Lauren was already walking away. Through the coffee shop window, I watched her pause on the sidewalk, pull out her phone, make a call. She looked back once, and something in her expression made my breath catch. She knew something. But what? Tuesday, December 3rd, 8:45 in the morning. The Lynn County Courthouse sat solid against the winter sky, its limestone facade promising justice or judgment, I wasn't sure which. Karen Mitchell met me at the steps. Ready? I nodded, though I wasn't sure that was true. The conservatorship hearing was in a small courtroom on the third floor. Worn carpet, fluorescent lighting. Derek and Bernard Phillips were already seated. Cassandra sat behind them in a gray suit. They turned when I entered. The shock on Bernard's face was genuine. He hadn't expected me to appear with an attorney. All rise. The Honorable Judge Helen Rodriguez presiding. The judge was a woman in her late 50s with sharp eyes. She reviewed the papers and looked up. This is a petition for emergency conservatorship filed by Derek Anderson regarding his father, Gerald Anderson. She paused. I see Mr. Anderson is present and represented. Mr. Phillips, you weren't expecting this? Bernard stood. Your Honor, given his documented cognitive issues, we didn't anticipate his ability to mount a legal response. Yet here he is apparently quite capable. Judge Rodriguez looked at me. Mr. Anderson, do you understand why you're here? I stood. Yes, Your Honor. My children believe I'm incompetent to manage my own affairs. I dispute this strongly. Very well. Mr. Phillips, present your case. Bernard approached with practiced confidence. Your Honor, Gerald Anderson is a remarkable man who built a successful business. However, since his wife's death 18 months ago, his children have observed concerning deterioration in his cognitive abilities. He presented his timeline, the checkbook error, missed appointments, confusion about business matters, an affidavit from Dr. Peterson. Most concerning are Mr. Anderson's recent paranoid accusations. He claims his own children are conspiring against him. Classic signs of dementia-related paranoia. Do you have expert testimony? Dr. Peterson has provided a written statement. Mr. Phillips, call your first witness. Derek took the stand. He wouldn't look at me. Please state your relationship to Gerald Anderson. He's my father. I'm president of Prairie Valley Enterprises. What concerns have you observed? Derek shifted. Dad's been confused lately. Forgetful. He wrote a check for the wrong amount. He forgets where he puts things. When I bring him documents, he signs them without reading them. And this concerns you? Yes, I'm worried someone might take advantage of him. The irony was so thick I could taste it. Karen stood for cross-examination. Mr. Anderson, isn't it possible your father trusts you and assumes you're acting in his best interest? Derek's jaw tightened. I suppose. And the checkbook error, isn't that something anyone might do? I guess, but no further questions. Karen called Dr. Caldwell via video conference. I evaluated Mr. Anderson last week. He demonstrates excellent cognitive function. His memory is intact. I found no evidence of dementia or impairment. Then Stanley Reed took the stand spreadsheets projected on a screen. Your Honor, over the past 10 months, approximately $85 million in assets have been transferred to an LLC, of which the petitioners are members. These transfers used a signature stamp purchased on company accounts, a stamp Mr. Anderson claims he never ordered. Judge Rodriguez leaned forward. Mr. Phillips, were you aware of these transfers? Bernard's confidence flickered. I handled some paperwork, yes, at Mr. Anderson's request. Without his knowledge, Karen interjected. Your Honor, may I call Mr. Anderson to testify? I took the stand, my hands steady. Karen walked me through my background, my 40 years running the business. Mr. Anderson, did you authorize the transfer of the Robbins property? No, I did not. Did you authorize the sale of that property for $54 million? Absolutely not. I had no knowledge until 3 weeks ago. Did you ever grant your son power of attorney? Never. The courtroom was silent except for the ventilation hum. Judge Rodriguez looked at the documents before her, then at Bernard. Her expression had shifted from routine skepticism to active interest. Bernard stood abruptly, his face a mask of desperate confidence. Your Honor, I'd like to call the respondent's daughter, Lauren Crawford, to the stand. Lauren walked to the witness stand. She looked at Derek, then at me. Bernard began gently. Miss Crawford, you've observed concerning behaviors from your father. I've observed many things, Mr. Phillips. Lauren paused. My father forgetting small details, making minor mistakes, the kind of things that happen when someone is grieving. Bernard smiled. And these concerns led you to support this petition. They led me to watch more carefully. Lauren's voice strengthened. And if I testified the way you're expecting, the way my brother asked me to, that would be a lie. The courtroom went still. Your Honor, Lauren pulled out a flash drive. This contains emails between my brother and Cassandra, discussing asset consolidation, recordings of their conversations, photographs of unauthorized transfers, bank statements proving where $85 million went, evidence I've been gathering for 8 months. Ms. Crawford, you've been investigating your own brother. My mother told me to. Lauren's voice cracked. 8 months ago, Mom pulled me aside. She said Cassandra had said something that worried her. Something about when Dad could no longer manage things, not if. Mom asked me to watch, to document. She looked at Derek. After Mom passed, I kept watching. When Derek asked me to support this petition, I pretended to agree. I attended their meetings. I let them think I was on their side. Derek had gone white. Lauren, he whispered. Mom knew. She suspected. She tried to gather proof, but she ran out of time. She was dying, Derek, and she spent her last months trying to protect Dad from you. Derek slumped forward. Cassandra remained still. Before Judge Rodriguez could speak, the courtroom door opened. An elderly man entered, perhaps 70 distinguished, carrying a worn leather briefcase. Your Honor, I apologize for the interruption. My name is James Hendrickson. I'm a retired attorney. For 18 months, I've held a sealed testament from Catherine Anderson. My heart stopped. Catherine Anderson has been deceased for 18 months, Judge Rodriguez said. Yes, Your Honor. However, Mrs. Anderson created this testament 6 months before her death. The seal was to be broken only if legal proceedings questioned her husband's mental competency. James produced a thick envelope. The wax seal was unbroken. She anticipated this situation. Judge Rodriguez examined it. This appears legitimate. Proceed. James broke the seal and handed me a letter. Catherine's handwriting, neat, achingly familiar. I read aloud, my voice breaking. My dearest Gerald, if you're reading this, my worst fears have come true. 6 months before I died, Cassandra said something at Thanksgiving that made me uneasy. She said when, instead of if, regarding your decline. I've known you for 43 years, and I know when someone is planning for your weakness rather than hoping for your strength. I started watching. I found fragments, emails, phone calls, documents, but nothing concrete enough to bring to you. If I accused them without solid proof, they would simply be more careful. I was also dying, my love. The cancer was taking me faster than predicted. I had a choice: create conflict and suspicion, or trust that the truth would surface. I chose to trust Lauren. I told her what I suspected. I asked her to keep watching after I was gone. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I'm sorry I left you to face this without me. But I knew you were strong enough. I love you. Even in death, I'm still trying to protect you. Forever yours, Catherine. I looked up, tears streaming. Lauren was crying too. James placed additional documents on the bench, emails Catherine had printed. Bank statements. She'd copied notes in her handwriting documenting conversations. Everything Lauren had found, Catherine had suspected first. Judge Rodriguez reviewed them in silence. Finally, she looked up at Bernard, then at Derek and Cassandra. Her expression had changed completely. Judge Rodriguez set down the documents. When she spoke, her voice was firm. I've practiced law for 30 years. I've seen families torn apart by greed, by misunderstanding, by genuine concern twisted into control. This case is not about a man in decline. This is about a family in crisis. She looked directly at Derek and Cassandra. The petition for conservatorship is denied. Mr. Gerald Anderson has demonstrated beyond any doubt that he is fully competent. What I've witnessed today is not cognitive impairment, but calculated fraud." She paused. "I'm ordering all parties to preserve documents related to Prairie Valley Enterprises and the LLC. Mr. Anderson, you're granted full access to all corporate records and bank statements." Her gaze hardened. "If the FBI investigation substantiates these allegations, this court will consider sanctions." The gavel came down. I sat frozen, barely believing it. Karen squeezed my shoulder. "We won!" Lauren was already moving toward me. We met in the aisle, and I held my daughter while she cried against my shoulder. "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry I had to lie to you." "You did what your mother asked," I whispered. "You saved me." Behind us, Derek sat with his head in his hands. Cassandra was already gone, slipped out during the judge's ruling. 2 weeks later, FBI agent Angela Pierce sat in my living room, her notebook open. "Mr. Anderson, we've confirmed systematic fraud. 73 forged signatures over 10 months. The signature stamp, the unauthorized transfers, the LLC structure, all of it checks out. We're building a case for wire fraud, identity theft, and financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult." "I'm not vulnerable," I said quietly. She smiled slightly. "No, sir, you're not. But they assumed you were. That was their mistake." 3 weeks after the hearing, Agent Pierce called with news. Cassandra Anderson boarded a flight to Grand Cayman. She's not coming back voluntarily. We've issued a warrant, but extradition will take time. 4 weeks after the hearing, Derek called. "Dad, can I see you?" We met at a park neutral ground. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said. "I just need you to understand. Cassandra," she got inside my head, "made me believe you were declining that we were protecting you. By the time I realized what was really happening, I was in too deep." "You could have stopped," I said. "I know." His voice broke. "I know, and I didn't. That's on me." 6 weeks later, Derek's plea agreement was finalized. 18 months in federal prison, 10 years probation, full restitution of funds received, and a permanent ban from serving as an officer or director of any corporation. His attorney had argued for house arrest. The prosecutor had pushed for 5 years. 18 months was the compromise. 8 weeks after the hearing, Stanley Reed sat in my office with final numbers. "We've recovered $72 million of the $85 million transferred. $13 million is gone laundered through offshore accounts by Cassandra, lost in the Robbins property development, tied up in accounts we can't access. $72 million. 85% recovered. Better than Karen had predicted, but the missing $13 million still stung. Not for the money itself, but for what it represented, trust that could never be fully restored. That evening, Lauren came by with Stephen and Olivia. My granddaughter hugged me tight. "Grandpa, Mom says you won." "I did, sweetheart." "She says Grandma helped, even though she's in heaven." I looked at Lauren, who was crying again. "Yes," I managed. "Grandma helped very much." After dinner, Lauren and I stood on the porch watching the sunset. "Derek's sentencing is next week," she said quietly. 18 months. He'll be at the federal facility in Leavenworth." "I know. Are you going to visit him?" I didn't answer immediately. The question had been haunting me since the plea deal. He was my son. He'd betrayed me. Both things were true. Lauren touched my arm. "Dad, you don't have to decide today." Spring came to Iowa with quiet persistence. The snow melted, the fields turned green, and I began the work of rebuilding what had been broken. I sold the Robbins property, what we'd recovered of it, to the Patterson family. Fair market value with financing at 2% interest over 20 years. "Mr. Anderson, this is too generous," John Patterson said. "This land should be farmed by people who love it," I told him. "You've taken good care of it. It's time it was truly yours." Prairie Valley Enterprises became smaller, leaner. I hired new management young people with ethics and energy and made it clear I wasn't a figurehead. I was an owner who expected transparency and respect. One Sunday in April, I drove to the cemetery. Catherine's headstone was simple, the way she'd wanted. I sat on the bench nearby and told her everything. The trial, Lauren's, courage, her letter that had saved me. You were right, I said to the granite marker. I was strong enough, but only because you made me believe it. That evening, Lauren came by with Stephen and Olivia. My granddaughter had grown 14 now, with Catherine's eyes and her grandmother's sharp mind. Grandpa, tell me about Grandma, Olivia said over dinner. The real stories, not just the nice ones. So I told her about Catherine's strength, her suspicion, her quiet investigation, about how love sometimes means protecting people from shadows they can't yet see. She was brave, Olivia said. She was. After they left, Lauren lingered on the porch. I'm sorry I had to lie to you for so long, pretending to side with Derek, letting you think I might betray you too. You did what your mother asked. You saved everything that mattered. Derek's at Leavenworth now. Have you thought about visiting? I had. Every day I'd thought about it. My son was in prison because of his choices, but he was still my son. Catherine would have known what to do. Maybe she'd left that answer in her letter, too, between the lines. I'll go next month, I said finally. Not to forgive. Not yet. But to see him. To start whatever comes next. Lauren kissed my cheek. Mom would be proud of you. The sun was setting as I sat alone on the porch, Catherine's favorite spot. I thought about the journey from that Thursday afternoon in the parking lot to this quiet evening, from victim to fighter to survivor. 66 wasn't old. It was experienced. It was wise. It was knowing when to trust and when to verify, when to hope and when to fight. Catherine had known that. She'd spent her final months proving it. Inside, I could hear Lauren and Olivia laughing, setting the table for dessert. Grandpa, come on, Olivia called. We're waiting. I stood, looked at Catherine's photo on the side table, her smile, her knowing eyes, and smiled back. Let's go, I said. Family's waiting. Age isn't weakness. It's wisdom earned through years of living, loving, and sometimes fighting for what's yours. Trust your instincts. Protect what matters. And remember, true love protects us even beyond death. Justice may come slowly, but it comes. Looking back on these grandpa stories, I realize how close I came to losing everything. Not just Prairie Valley Enterprises, but my dignity, my family, and my sense of self. This true story taught me that age isn't weakness. It's wisdom earned through fire. Don't be like me, sitting in silence while others plot behind your back. Speak up. Question everything. Demand transparency even from those you love most. God gave me strength when I had none. When I overheard that conversation in the conference room, God whispered, "Fight." When Lauren handed me that USB drive in court, God showed me that love transcends death through Catherine's foresight. And when the judge ruled in my favor, I knew God's justice, though delayed, always arrives. These grandpa stories aren't just about me. They're about every elder who's been dismissed, manipulated, or told they're too old to understand. This true story proves that vigilance and courage matter at any age. These grandpa stories remind us trust, but verify. Love, but protect yourself. This true story confirms that Catherine's final gift wasn't just evidence. It was a reminder that real love guards us even from the grave. My journey ends with hope. Derek slowly rebuilding trust from prison. Lauren and Olivia sit at my table every Sunday, and Prairie Valley Enterprises thrives under ethical leadership. God's plan was bigger than my pain.